In this video, I'm going to provide you with a step-by-step sequence of exercises designed to help you improve the rotation of your spine. Hello and welcome to the Back Pain Guide. I'm Duncan, a former sufferer of debilitating back pain, now turned physiotherapist who focuses on the treatment and care of other people, perhaps like yourself, who also suffer from back pain. The advice I give is a mixture of my professional expertise and personal experience, and I focus on giving information I wish I had known when I was suffering from back pain. In this video, I want to provide a step-by-step sequence of exercises to help people who struggle to rotate or twist their spine. The rotation of the spine, in my experience, is an often overlooked movement pattern of the spine. We tend to focus a lot on flexion and extension of the spine, but rotating the spine is equally important for functional movement in everyday life. It's also very important if you want to prevent abnormal loading of any part of the spine. And of course, it's also quite important for various specific, very common and popular sports, things like tennis or golf. As you'll see, this sequence of exercises starts at a very low and easy level and progresses step by step in hierarchy until you're able to move freely and with confidence. So the first exercise we have is often referred to as the rib grab exercise. So set yourself up on a comfortable surface like I am here. Make sure that your head is nice and supported so you're not straining the neck at all. Bring your knees up to a 90-degree position, stacked on top of each other. Make sure that bottom leg stays in contact with the floor and that top leg stays in contact with the bottom leg. That's really important. You're going to support the knees with the lower hand, the underside hand. And then with your higher hand, place your hand under your ribs and twist. So you're sort of grabbing your ribs and opening up into that rotational position. You can perform this as a moving sort of mobility type stretch. So just keep moving into rotation and back. Or you can perform it as I've done here as a sort of hold where you perform the rotation and then hold in that rotated open position for a few deep breaths, allowing yourself to sink more deeply into that stretch. Step 2 of this sequence is a similar setup to the rib grab, and you are treated to my wonderful colleague Will demonstrating this exercise here. The setup is exactly the same as the rib grab with those knees at 90 degrees and the knees stacked on top of each other. But instead of having your hands grabbing your ribs, you're going to do this, what we call an open book rotation. So extend your hands out like a prayer in front of you, and you're going to be opening that top hand all the way around as far as is possible. Again, you can perform this exercise as a movement, as Will is performing here, or you can perform it as I did in the last demonstration as a held position where you take a few deep breaths into that rotated open position and allow the stretch to sink and expand. Here we have a demonstration of what I'm going to call exercise or step 2B. And it's just an exercise that Will and I quite like. Very, very similar to step 2, the open book exercise. But instead of just rotating up and over your torso, you're going to bring your arm around sort of in a clock face over your head. Some people prefer this motion as they feel it gives them a little bit more mobility and flexibility. So perhaps you could try both step, let's call them 2A, the standard open book, or step 2B, this more sort of clock face rotational style exercise. They both work very, very similar muscles and stretch very similar muscles, but you could play with either option depending on what feels better for you. So we're at step 3 now, and as you can see, we've progressed from lying on the floor to the quadruped position. So we're progressing up that sequence of developmental patterns. This one is called the all fours kneeling rotations, and the setup is as shown here. Probably easiest to get into an all fours position. Then you're going to go into what we call a lumbar lock position. So you're going to sit your bum back onto your heels if that's comfortable for you. Bring one hand close to the same sided knee, and with the other hand, you're going to, what I say, answer the phone. Place your hand sort of on the side of your head, And then you're going to rotate by bringing that elbow down to the opposite knee and then rotating upwards in the opposite direction up to the sky. For bonus points, I highly recommend you try the following breathing pattern attached to this exercise, where as you rotate inwards, so when you're bringing your elbow to your knee, you exhale, you breathe out, and as you're rotating upwards, so bringing your elbow up and around, you inhale. So exhale as you close down and inhale as you rotate upwards. We're now on to step 4, and we have Will demonstrating what we consider to be a progression of the all fours rotation exercise that I just demonstrated. It's a very, very similar setup. So come onto all fours and then rock your buttocks back onto your heels. And then instead of rotating just to your knee, you're going to bring the moving arm all the way through under your supporting arm and get a little bit more rotation on that side. And then bring the straight arm all the way up into rotation upwards. So it's a very similar exercise, but this one tends to have a slightly more extended range of motion, which a lot of people like. Once again, you can copy that same breathing pattern, making sure that you exhale as you close up, bringing that arm downwards, and you inhale as you rotate up and around upwards and expand the body. We're at step 5 now, and as you can see, we've graduated from the all fours quadruped position to a kneeling position. For this is a kneeling wall rotation exercise. The setup is a little bit more difficult, but I'm sure you can manage it. What you're going to do is kneel on one knee next to a wall. Now, the leg that's closest to the wall is going to be your kneeling leg, and the leg that's further from the wall is going to be your sort of standing leg on your foot. If you need, place something under your kneeling knee for a bit of cushioning and support if you feel that's more comfortable for you. And then it's quite important to place something. I'm using a foam roller here between your, quote unquote, standing knee and the wall. The reason we do this is to prevent rotation happening from the hips. So what you'll notice as I demonstrate here is if you perform the movement and the foam roller or whatever you're using falls to the ground, that means you're moving the knee a little bit too much. Once you're in that setup position, you're going to put your arms out in front of you like a prayer position, similar to the open book exercise, step 2. You're going to keep your arm, the back of the palm that's closest to the wall, against the wall throughout the duration of the exercise. And you're going to perform that same open book that was the same as step 2. So it's a movement you should now be familiar with, but we're putting it into a kneeling position, which makes the exercise much more challenging, but also much more functional. So it would be more useful for everyday movement. We're at step 6 now, still in the kneeling position. The setup is exactly the same as you can see Will doing here. Make sure you don't allow that knee to come out to the side at any point during the exercise. The first part of the exercise is the same, that open book movement, but now you're going to add a rotation of the arm that's supporting against the wall. So perform the open book movement, and then you're going to perform, as Will is doing here, a overhead rotation of the arm, trying to keep the back of that palm in contact with the wall throughout the entire rotation. Step 7, we're almost there, and congratulations, you have progressed to standing position. Now, fortunately, these last 2 exercises are very similar to the previous steps, steps 5 and 6, but we simply do them in a standing position, which makes them just that little bit more challenging, but a little bit more functional. As you can see here, I'm doing the versions, which is step 7, which is just the open book rotation in standing position. And once again, you can use that same breathing pattern for this exercise. As you open up, you inhale, and as you close the arm down, you exhale. So as you open up that arm, rotate that arm outwards and backwards, you're inhaling, breathing in, and as you close that arm back down towards the wall, you are exhaling, breathing out. Here we have step 8, the final step of the sequence, which is very similar to step 6, but we simply do it in this standing position, which makes it a little bit more challenging and a little bit more useful and functional. So do the setup as before with the foam roller, and then you perform the open book rotation with the arm furthest from the wall, and then the over the head clock face rotation with the arm closest to the wall, making sure you try and keep that hand in contact with the wall throughout the entirety of the movement. And as we did for our 8-step spinal flexion progression video, I'm going to provide a nice little bonus exercise here for those of you who might be a bit more athletically inclined or sporting, or perhaps those of you who are a little bit competitive. I know a few of my clients are. This is a nice deep squat rotation. So you're going to assume a nice deep squat position, place one hand on the top of the same side foot, answer the phone with the other hand, and then perform those same thoracic rotations you were doing in step 3, the kneeling rotations, but in this squat position. You'll find it can be quite a challenge for many people, but if you can perform this exercise, you can be fairly confident that you have enough thoracic rotation to engage in the vast majority of sporting activities safely and with confidence. We have the same exercise demonstrated here, but instead of a bent elbow on the moving arm, we're simply doing it with a nice stretched arm. These exercises are very similar, and you can perform the one that is most comfortable for you. I hope you found that information useful. Remember, you have the power to take control and move towards a pain-free life. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the Back Pain Guide for future videos and more valuable content. If you have any questions or perhaps suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comments below. I'm here to guide and support you on your road to recovery. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.